The Denver Broncos' most recent signing proves without a shadow of a doubt that Sean Payton and Vance Joseph believe that this 2-game win streak, improbable wins on the road against high-powered offenses, they believe that that is very sustainable and that defense is going to carry us all the way to the playoffs. And while they're doing that, Bo is going to develop. It is Raiders week. We're going to break down that signing, why I think we are going to boat race, like keyword Bo on there, why we're going to boat race the Raiders, so much more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm Ben. I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan. Helps me out a ton. If you like the Broncos too, if you would like and subscribe. Before we dive in, it is Raiders week. I got to know, who is your least favorite team in the AFC West? Who is the team that it's like, man, if we beat them twice, we could lose the rest of the games as long as we beat the blank? It is wild to me that it has not been since 2019 that we have beat the dreaded Raiders. And for some reason in my mind, because of the Shanahan era, I think of them as like our younger brother, and I don't even hate him that much. I hate the Chiefs, but truly, I should hate them a lot more. They own the series record with us. They've had our number, and this is a streak Sean Payton has to break, and I think he's going to break it this week. Let's dive in. So the latest news is, despite the fact that we lost Singleton, our signal caller, our leader in tackles over the past 2 weeks, we did not go out at the waiver wire this week and do anything on the defensive side of the ball. There were tons of predictions about trades the Broncos might be interested in, or other free agents that could go out and get there. And Vance Joseph is like, nah, I'm good. You saw what this team just did against an elite quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Just wait till they get a chance to against Gardner Minshew without his number one target in Devontae Adams. And so rather than look at the defensive side of the ball and try to finagle something there, they went out and they basically replaced Tyler Badie at this point. Badie is back recovering with his family. Great news there. That was a scary injury, but they went out and they signed a former Miami Dolphin, 5 touchdowns. He ran a 4.3 40, so crazy amounts of speed. Definitely a change of pace back and has that one element to his game, and that is speed, and that is Salvon Ahmed. I don't actually envision him making a real splash on this team. The great news for us is that over the next couple weeks, a lot of these guys who went on 4-week IRs are coming back. We are set to get Audric Estime back next week, which is fantastic timing, knowing that we need to run the ball against the Chargers next week. Baron Browning also will be set to come back in just a week or two here. Levi Wallace is able to come back this week. And then we'll have McGlinchey back after the Saints game. So we are in a very good spot here. Obviously, losing Singleton for the year is a major bummer. But to me, this is showing that Sean Payton and Vance Joseph are like, hey, guys, we're good defensively. This is not a flash in the pan. This is the defense that you are going to see that's going to carry us through the playoffs. I also thought it was interesting that when McGlinchey went down, I was wondering if we were going to, we did that move during the offseason where we brought in Throckmorton and Mustafa, and we had a whole backup offensive line. And I was wondering that when McGlinchey went out, I'm like, I don't know, can Palczewski hold up? Now is real talk that Palczewski has probably outperformed what we saw from McGlinchey, that 2 weeks in a row, Bo Nix, his jersey has been completely clean. And that's a shout out and a testament to how our O-line's playing, also how Bo is able to get rid of the ball immediately. But this is just crazy that he's only even allowed 2 pressures, only let Bo get hit once, and he had 1 penalty. And his PFF grade is incredible right there for a backup. And so there's so much talk now that, well, when McGlinchey gets back, do you try to trade him when he's healthy? You can't trade him when he's hurt. Do you move him to McGlinchey to left tackle, knowing that we have to pay Bowles or move on from him this season? Do you trade Garrett Bowles at the trade deadline? So we're in it's a really good problem to have our backup right tackle, who I was very worried about, actually outperform the starter. And that is a very rare thing. And you're just starting to see this offensive line really start to click against a fantastic Jets defensive line. And I don't think you can underestimate this. It's one thing to hold up against the Tampa offensive line that's not that great, but it's another thing to do that against the Jets, whose front 4 actually have the highest pass rush win rate in the entire NFL. Incredible linebacker play there. And so this is fantastic to me to see that. Now, defensively, I had really thought when Singleton went out, obviously we got Quan. We talked about that last week, but I had thought Vance was going to need to get in his bag and figure something out. Do we make a trade? Do you go and sign another inside linebacker here to replace that? But taking a look here at how our defensive front looked last week without Singleton, we didn't miss a beat. We kept Aaron Rodgers out of the end zone when they were first and goal on the 1 yard line, I was like, oh, there's no way they don't get in, like one tush push and you're in. And I really think we would have stopped them 4 times in a row, but they had a false start on 4th down when they were going for it and ended up settling for a field goal. So to keep Aaron Rodgers and Breece Hall out of the end zone, it just shows how incredible this defense is, and it really is elite. And I think the fact that we didn't try to bring anyone else in proves that Vance Joseph is like, hey, we're going to keep this going from now on. Like, we're a great defense, and we're definitely, you could make the argument that we're the best defense in the league right now, and I don't think anyone would balk at that because we have stopped the run, which is our Achilles heel, and who on earth wants to try to pass against Pat Surtain, the best corner in the league? Riley Moss is even graded higher on PFF than Surtain sometimes. And you heard the color commentators talk about how Mac Million is actually the best slot corner in the league as well. So we're in a very, very good spot there. And to even kind of double down on how much Vance Joseph trusts in this defense, one of the things that he did even more this week than he has done at all this year is the Denver Broncos now lead the league in the number of defensive snaps that they do in cover zero, meaning they're bringing everybody and trusting their cornerbacks on islands. And it's one thing to do that this week against the Raiders when they don't have an offensive weapon outside of Devontae, but look at some of these wide receivers who Pat and Riley and Mac Million have had to hold down, and the fact that still we, the Denver Broncos, are the number 1 team in the entire NFL when it comes to how often we're lining up in cover zero. And our second most one is we're lining up in cover 1, which, obviously gives a little more protection and hedge against it. But this is just incredible that the Vikings, who lead the league in pressures as well, they're at 9% with that famous Brian Flores defense, and knowing that Vance Joseph is right there, that shows tremendous trust in this back end of the defense. We definitely have the best secondary in the league, and that's not even something that anyone would debate. We all wondered when the Denver Broncos moved on from Justin Simmons, was that going to come back and bite us in the butt? And just seeing here that PFF, they're defenders in the league right now who they give more than a 90 grade to, and who's on here but Brandon Jones, who has stepped up. His really biggest question mark for me is, can he stay healthy? We know that was his Achilles heel when he was with Miami, and even in training camp, he missed a lot because of injury. So let's keep him healthy. We saw the interception he had. We saw the forced fumble, the fumble recovery. He's just playing out of his mind, and that the Broncos defense is in a very, very good place here. Then you look, it's not just the platoon of guys that Baron Browning will be back soon, guys, and I think he's probably the best pass rusher we have on the team, and he's not even playing right now, and yet we still sacked Baker 7 times, Aaron Rodgers 5 times. And looking at, we're not just getting our pressure from the outside, but it's coming inside too, and looking who are the top leading defenders when it comes to pressure rate here and their pass rush win rate. It's our boys right here. Zach Allen came out and said Vance Joseph has completely changed this defense, and we are moving upfield fast. It's a rapid reaction thing. You go upfield, you're not worrying and reading the play first. You make your move upfield, and it's incredible to see, like the Raiders, Christian Wilkins. That could be a problem for us this week. But our guys, Malcolm Roach, that everyone laughed at me when I said this was a huge free agent signing for us to end up with Malcolm Roach. You got our 2 boys right up here up top, the best defensive tackles in the game right now when it comes to their pass rush win rate, and that's a fantastic, fantastic thing. When it comes to just like hyping you up about why we're not just going to be good this year, we're going to make the playoffs. We got a ton of cap room next year. We are doing this type of winning 2 games. The NFL laughed at us when we said we were going to win, with eating the bulk of Russell Wilson's cap hit this year. And you just look at why I have the biggest man crush ever on Sean Payton, and just tell me something that he has lost on. And I just look at how much he's improved our training staff and decreased our injuries, how he kept stuck with Vance Joseph when everyone else said fire him, and it's Vance Joseph in the second year that's getting the game ball every single game. Just how good our offensive line has been, that we got Palchevsky, obviously. We had a new center moving on from Cushenberry, and we haven't missed a beat, no sacks in 2 games. Our special teams unit is constantly pinning dudes deep, and we're set up to have a ton of cap space in the future, and that's amazing. And you can't just give all the credit to Sean Payton while he's helping make a lot of those moves. A lot of it's George Payton and his success as well. and he's too quickly thrown under the bus for the Russell Wilson deal, and I don't think that was all on him. There's a lot of rumors and a lot of fodder that stuff was even predating him, and the wheels were in motion for Aaron Rodgers, and we kind of settled and panicked at the last second for Russell Wilson, and that some of that could have even predated back to being an Elway decision. But if you move on from the Russell Wilson decision, look at what George Payton has done, and this is why he has job security. To get Cooper in the 7th round, to get Bonito in the 2nd round, to steal Ellis, who's already just popping like wild. Minor, it's a 3rd round pick. Palczewski, undrafted free agent. Looking at obviously Dondre Tillman, undrafted free agent as well. He is just batting. When it comes to player personnel, he is batting as close as you can get to 1,000. And obviously the Russell Wilson thing is like a massive caveat, but I'm feeling incredibly good. And just seeing here that our offensive line has held up, that Bo Nix is on pace for 17 sacks this year, and he didn't put up Superman numbers last week. It was 60 yards passing. The big caveat is if you watch that game, you know that Aaron Rodgers did not outperform our rookie quarterback in a ton of rain, and that's not what we're going to see from Bo again. Like, he already is outpacing Justin Herbert for yards thrown in a game, and Herbert's supposed to be this amazing Superman quarterback, right? So just seeing here that last season through this rate, or last season we had 52 sacks, and this year we're on pace for 17 sacks, and I think that number is probably even dipping down, knowing we've gone 2 weeks in a row without letting up a sack. Last piece of news is as we move into the Raiders, it is Raiders week. We're going to do a ton of content on the Raiders. I got a crossover episode with a Raider insider to talk all about this, but I think one of the big things that will change my prediction right now, I think the Denver Broncos beat the Raiders as handily, if not even more so than they did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I am predicting Max Crosby will not play this game. If he does, I think it's probably closer to a 1-score game. Still the Broncos coming out on top. But if the Denver Broncos get to play the Raiders without Max Crosby, that changes everything. And Antonio Pierce came out just recently and said, hey, my job is to protect Max from Max. And the last game was the first game he'd ever missed in his career. He said he wants to play this week, but at some point, a coach's job is to, keep your franchise in good standing from now on. And so knowing they are down Davante, does he keep Max out this week? With Davante out, requesting a trade, I think one of the big matchups is how can our Denver defense look guarding the tight end? We've faced elite wide receivers and we've stood the test. We've had elite rushing attempts against us. We've stood the test. What is it going to look like knowing that we got to face Brock Bowers, and how does Vance Joseph kind of cater this team to stop that? Because with Davante out, the guy we got to worry about is obviously only Brock Bowers. That does not worry me that much, but it is a different wrinkle that we haven't seen this year. But I know Vance Joseph has met the bar every single time it's been set for him, and I think he's going to continue to do so. And we know that here in Broncos country, we got a ton to believe in. Oh, let's go.